So you said your dad was a preacher,
Yeah.
and you just mentioned something about when you started playing music for real. So I'm interested in kind of your musical beginnings and what does for real mean? When did that happen?
Well, I was an art major in college. And my sophomore year, I heard a Roland Kirk record, the We Free Kings album with You Did It, You Did It. And I was just surprised at how powerful a flute could be pushed. So I sort of said, well, I need to get a flute. And I was just doing it as a hobby, just something to do because I was an art major. I had plenty to do already. And bought a flute book. Next thing I know, I was going out sitting in and people were calling me for gigs.
So you didn't play growing up? You didn't play in church or anything?
I sung in the church choir. At age 12, my mother looked at me and said, "You're in the church choir." So I said, "Yes, ma'am," because that's a Southern mom and you don't cross them.
Right. And so how did your background as a singer help you make the transition to being an instrumentalist?
Well, there was always music in the house. Pop listened to Benny Goodman and people like that. All the old kind of early jazz cats. He wasn't a bebopper or anything like that, but there was always whatever music and gospel. Although the choir I was in was not a gospel choir, we did anthems and stuff. So I learned. We had a great choir director, and so I learned about singing in harmony and stuff like that. Getting tunes going. So that was very helpful. Especially as I'm also a singer. So in the 70s, I did a lot of singing.
So how did you approach, learning jazz language? What did you do to develop your vocabulary?
I learned to finger the instrument first. Then I learned to get a good even tone. I took a day off my art classes and just sat at home with the mouthpiece of the flute until I could hold a steady single note, tone that sounded like I thought flutes should sound. And then I put the instrument together and learned the notes, learn where everything was on the instrument. And then I just would sit with all of my records, whatever I was interested in, I'd learn that song and I would practice along with it. And sometimes there was a time when I could play with a Roland Kirk record and you couldn't tell it was two flutes playing, because that's how much I was into him and the instrument. So I practiced constantly. I lost girlfriends because I practiced so much. I was essentially a sculptor in college, and I did welding. So I was busy all the time, between the flute and and the art. I always had plenty to do. So if I had a girlfriend, good. If I didn't, somehow I would survive.
Being a singer, maybe more than most of us, you are really intimately familiar with the lyrics of a song.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what that intimacy with the composer's intent, how it informs the way that you blow over the changes. Like how do you connect with the material differently because of your familiarity with the lyric?
Yeah. Well, if you know the story, like it gives you some insight as to what to do. And singing itself is very akin to acting. If you're going to put a song across, you gotta be intimate. You gotta literally interpret the lyrics to who's listening and make them listen to the words and your story and how you put it across. So I got to the point where I only pick songs that I like. So that's what I always tell singers when they ask me about singing. I said, pick a song you like. Don't try to sing a song just because it's popular unless you like it, because then you'll actually take the song seriously and do something with it. And I've always been into interpretation because of my jazz leaning. So I don't like to do a song, even when I was playing in top 40 cover bands. Once I learned the song, like I would learn the arrangement, but by the time I started singing it a lot, I would change a lot of it. If they sung a lick at the beginning of the song, then I would sing my own licks after a while, because the same amount of space, it's an 8-bar lick, then I'm going to sing an 8-bar Bernie Jacobs lick. And it's just because in my mind, I figured that those guys came up with those licks off the top of their head as well. So I said, I want it to be an authentic performance.